my community service throughout my Rotary Youth Exchange, met individuals from all over the world. It was probably one of the most influential experiences I've ever been on in my life. I can't imagine where I would be if I hadn't gone on this trip and really pushed myself to get out there to do this, to get on a plane for the first time, go to another country for the first time, learn another language for the first time. So it was great to have Rotary support in that role, and to know and to feel and to experience as well the impact of the international Rotary family. I often refer to the Rotary family because that's exactly what it's been like for me. You know, having a host family who were Rotarians when I went abroad, staying connected with Rotarians here, and having them look out for me much like a mother or a father or a family member would. So I refer to it as a Rotary family for that very reason. After returning home from my year abroad, I went to Appalachian State University, and I actually received a scholarship through Rotary, the Tenant Scholarship, to be able to go to college. And that was a big help for my family and myself, and making that dream of completing college become a reality for me. And so very grateful for the Rotary program. Yes, and that gratefulness continues and grows every day. And so I graduated from Appalachian State University, class of 2016, with a degree in finance and banking, and then went on to enroll in the Peace Corps. So as a Peace Corps volunteer, I lived in the jungles or a village of a country called Vanuatu. It is a small country in the South Pacific archipelago that is in between Australia and Fiji. Very small on the map. You normally have to zoom in order to even have it come up and be listed on a map or a globe. So very much enjoyed my time there as well. Continued to learn about how we're all so connected, no matter what languages we speak, where we are in the country, what our country's economic climate is like. We still have a great deep desire to be connected, and we're all just seeking to be connected and experience. So that was an amazing experience in itself. Yes, I taught English to 200 students there from preschool to 8th grade. Lived in the village there. In order to bathe, I had to take a large bucket and carry it about a football's field length to a river, fill it up, carry it back to my house, and then stand on some wooden planks in an outhouse and take a bowl, dip it into that bucket, and splash it over my head in order to bathe. So did that for 2 years. It was a very challenging experience, but one that I am very grateful for. Throughout my time in the Peace Corps as well, one of the projects that I was really proud of myself for creating was a solar project. So we wrote for a grant from the U.S. government, USAID, and we were awarded a grant to bring solar powered lighting to my village campus. So that helped a lot for the students there, especially who had to live on campus during the week as they went to school. They were now able to have light after dark, and some of the teachers were able to write lesson plans into the dark and weren't reliant on the sunlight to get work done or to be productive and to feel comfortable. So that was great. Yeah, that was one of my proudest moments of my service in the Peace Corps. After returning home, I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico for a while, actually, and then returned back here to Asheville. So I was born and raised in Asheville. I'm an Asheville native, and started a job at Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor. And I've slowly gotten back to being recruited by a gentleman that I had that internship with at the Chamber. And so now I'm working at the Chamber as their Director of Business Recruitment. So helping to bring businesses that the area can be proud of, that is moving the needle for wages, increasing the average wage in the area, and really helping to have a great boost in the local economy. So I feel very proud to be able to do that. And also founding our Rotaract group here. So our Rotaract group has, we started at 2019, the end of 2019. So we've gone through some up and downs with COVID, but we're looking at revamping here soon, and it's been a blessing to be able to be a part of Rotaract and continue that service in the community, and to get the next generation of Rotarians and younger Rotarians involved. And so very happy to be able to do that as well. And I actually attended my first international conference last year in Houston. So that was really brought everything home and kind of full circle to be in that environment, and just to see how many people from all over the world in different languages, and all kind of unified by a desire to serve. So that was an amazing experience, and one that I'm hoping to be able to pass on to more people young people in my community. And yeah, just that will live with me forever as well. So very happy to be a part of the Rotary family, very happy to see clubs adapt and to be in new environments and continue to progress through. And yes, I just love the Rotary family. So it does feel like a family to me. That's whose arms grow bigger and bigger every day as I create connections through our international channels. So. Uh-oh.
Keevon,
Yes.
is this a time when you'd like for us to ask questions? Because I have
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to start. I want to know what your family thought when they heard you were headed to that tiny little island in the Pacific.
So my family was actually not very familiar with the Peace Corps. So when they heard that I was doing this, a lot of them thought that I was getting paid. And so when they found out that I wasn't getting paid, they were like, oh my gosh, why are you going there after you just graduated to do volunteer work? And, my answer was I wanted to get back to the community. I feel like I've been blessed. So I want to spread that blessing to others. And, but yeah, they had never heard of it. I had never heard of it either. Looked up photos, and one of the photos that I remember that kind of convinced me more or less to go was, it was a photo of some young kids running along the beach with a pig. And I was like, a pig? That looks kind of weird. Are they keeping pigs as pets or what have you? But yeah, beautiful place to visit, beautiful culture. Love the people, still keep in contact with people over there through Facebook, oddly enough. But yeah, beautiful place. Would highly recommend you put it on your list of places. Yeah,
we will. Well, I'm going to remove the spotlight from you so we can get a regular conversation going here. I found your history to be absolutely interesting. I have many questions, but I want to turn it over to everybody else first. And so please ask away. And if it triggers another area you want to go down and talk about, go for it. So anybody else would like to jump in with questions or comments for Keevon? Diana.
Do you keep in touch with the family that you were with in Brazil, especially in light of all of the political upheaval right now? Is it possible, or do you want to continue any kind of relationship with them?
Yes, I keep in contact with them as well. So they'll reach out and tell me happy birthday, or I'll reach out and say happy Mother's Day to my host mom there, and keep in contact with my host brother as well, as he also travels the world. I think he got his master's in New Zealand, so I've kept up with him as well. So yes, it's been great to keep up with them. We don't get too much into the political upheaval that's going on in the country, but we've just kind of kept in contact to say, we miss each other and remembering times together. So
wonderful, thank you.
It gets a little bit more.
Come here to visit? Has he come? Yeah, come to visit. Have any of your host family come to visit?
No, none of the host family has come to visit just yet. I'm not sure if that's on their list of things. It's certainly on my list of things to do to get back and visit them. To go back to Vanuatu or to Brazil. So I know that we have another international conference in Australia next year. And so my plan is to go and visit that conference and then also pop up to Vanuatu to revisit my my host country.
Cool.
Okay.
That'd be cool.
So Keevon, I've got several questions. I guess the first one is actually more business related in your new role. Greg and I love to go to Asheville. In fact, I was there Friday night and unfortunately
cool.
missed the balloon on Saturday because I was getting coffee.
Yeah.
Apparently it went right overhead. But
I saw that.
so we are very much aware that Asheville is a rather stratified community. It has what I call the Biltmore crowd, and then it has all the people who make all the fun stuff happen in the town. So I'm curious what strategies you're using to try to bridge that gap. And you mentioned about trying to increase pay levels for those who make Asheville what it is.
Yeah, and so I will give a caveat by saying I'm also only 4 months into the role, but from what I understand, we've got several approaches. One of them is working with our Venture Asheville. And so what that group does is they build entrepreneurs in the area, and they partner with other entrepreneurial organizations in that startup community to build the next headquartered large business here. So you might think of, I don't know if you all have had Poppy's popcorn. You all had that? Yes. So that started out here in Asheville, and they're growing and becoming having several $1 million of revenue a year, and are looking at increasing their headquartered space here. So we're looking at helping those types of businesses. Like I said, I'm bringing in new businesses here into Asheville, and so kind of coordinating those efforts. So we have travel next week to the High Heli Expo, a helicopter exposition, next week in Atlanta. So looking at we're going to those type of events specifically to kind of piggyback off of our success with having GE in the area, and Pratt & Whitney just commit to $800 million and I think 400 jobs bringing to the area in a couple of years. So we're piggybacking off of our aerospace engineering area. We've also got a research kind of facility that works out. It's called Riverbird Research. And so what they do is do in-depth research for, and they can be subcontracted out. So I don't understand that one too much, admittedly. But we've also got workforce development. So we've got some great workforce development programs, which I think tie a little bit more directly into your question, Candace. And one of the programs that I'm really excited about is our Accelerate Bunkum program. And so what that program does is it focuses on people who are underemployed. So while they may be employed, they're not making as much money as they can or as they have the potential to, and they aren't very skilled or qualified. So if they're working a job that's, say, $13 an hour, and they could get a certification in about 6 weeks, that would bump their pay up to, let's say, $20 an hour. We have a program that allows them to take that time off from work in order to learn that certification while giving them a stipend so that they're not missing income during that time. So that's a really great program that I'm really excited about. So we've got some great programs in Asheville that focuses on workforce that is helping to not only provide the opportunity for people to work higher wage jobs and to kind of keep up with the rising costs of goods and the rising costs of living in Asheville, but also working on the workforce itself to give them more opportunity and empower them with more resources and connections and what have you in the community. So.
Excellent. Yeah.
Keevon, having retired out of and worked in the 2-year college system, North Carolina has a very strong history of their 2-year colleges being involved in workforce development. So
Yes.
I would imagine there's some partnerships going on there too.
Yep.
And maybe to that end, one of our members is a little under the weather, so he has put a question and asked in the chat session that he asked me to ask. And when you're out in the community and working for the chamber, how do you infuse or how do you represent Rotary when you do that? How do you what's the lesson for us to learn from you about how you infuse Rotary into what you do?
Ooh, I think that's a great question. What I think about Rotary and how I represent Rotary, I think the essence of Rotary is at the heart of any great person who is skilled at business, is what I would kind of say. Service above self. I think when you approach business negotiations or any kind of interaction, really, you know, an interaction with your spouse or anyone that you're dealing with, and when you approach the situation looking to serve first and then be served second, I think that you other people feel that and oftentimes return that. And so it creates a situation where you are both being served very well, and everyone's needs are met and exceeded. So that's how I kind of see myself living Rotary in the community, as I in the community and I guess in my business dealings at work and beyond. So
Well, I guess that speaks to you heading out to the jungle with a
yes.
4-year degree and a salary of 0.
Yes, yes, it certainly
So
does.
you have certainly lived what you preach. And his follow-on question, and I'm going to tweak his follow-on question just a little bit. His follow-on question is, do you know the value of the E-Club for connecting? Because in Rotaract, obviously, you know, you're probably would pitch that to, you know, stereotypically a younger crowd. And so we certainly want you to know that the E-Club is open to either helping your Interact Club and or being an avenue if somebody is really not, we meet like this, so you could be anywhere and meet. You could travel, you could be at home, you could be anywhere. And so if you meet somebody who is a Rotarian or who you know, is maybe not there for a typical Rotary experience, you know, we certainly can get you some information and let you help with that, you know, and offer us as an alternative. I'm sure there's some strong Rotary clubs in Asheville, but the face-to-face Rotary clubs don't always fit everybody's schedule.
Right.
And
right.
everybody's need. And then wise, of course, we certainly don't want to compete with your Rotaract. You need to grow those young Rotarians, like you said. But, you know, there might be some oldsters out there too, you know, so we certainly want to make sure you know the value of the E-Club and how we can establish that family around the world, you know, through what we do.
Yes, that's great. So this is one of my first times kind of interacting with an E-Club. So I'd love to get to know more about like what you all kind of view as some of the benefits and how I can like help grow that E-Club presence. That would be great.
Okay, great. I will send you a couple of things to look at. And then if you have any questions, definitely let me know, because I think, you know, kind of adding us to that vocabulary of Rotary would be, you know, helpful, because obviously we want to grow, but we also want to provide a home for Rotarians who may not, and we're happy to have people who aren't Rotarians too, but most typically we are a home for Rotarians who the face-to-face experience is not either advantageous or not working for them at the moment.
Or we live really far from a club.
Right.
So that's definitely something too, Keevon, is like that. I found myself moving to rural South Carolina where, you know, there isn't something in my current neighborhood. And I've been in Rotary in California for almost 20 years. And then you know, it's like moving here was like, what's my option? And I found my way to the E-Club. I had a question about your Peace Corps experience. Was Peace Corps something that growing up you thought, I could do that? Or was it something where somebody just was, you know, had mentioned it, and like, how did you come to decide after, because you had gone on your exchange and then coming back, is there, you know, what was that or was it something you had thought of before you went as an exchange student?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. And I've only met one other person who has, or at least in the area, who has done, I guess I'll retract that statement. There are many people who have done the Peace Corps and are Rotarians. I don't know if there are too many people who have done a Rotary Youth Exchange and then went on to be a Peace Corps volunteer.
Right.
Recently met one of those people, maybe 2 weeks ago in my new role. One of my coworkers is actually mentoring them, and so they're applying for the Peace Corps right now. So it was like, whoa, what are the
Right.
odds? And they're actually going. They actually did an exchange in Brazil, and now they're going to a Rotary Youth Exchange in Brazil, and now they're going to the Peace Corps. So I was like, wow,
Right.
what a coincidence. But I would say that the Rotary Youth Exchange service really is kind of what inspired me to do Peace Corps, and they're very much tied together. The Rotary Youth Exchange service was a year long, and after I finished, I really didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave Brazil at that time. Had just felt like I gotten my legs under me, just felt like I was like comfortable and knew how to speak the language and could express myself very fluently, and was getting into more of the nuances of the language, was slowly starting to lose my accent as I spoke Portuguese, knew my way around, had my friend group develop. So leaving after a year, I was really very sad, but I think it was also the right time as timing for the program itself. But and being in during the Peace Corps, what I liked about the program was that you were there for 2 years, and that secondary project that I told you about, where I was able to write for a grant, that was intentionally proposed and only available to volunteers after they had served for a year, so that they could understand the culture and mesh themselves into the culture and the fabric of the community, so that when you were to propose a project, you had enough social currency to be able to talk to everyone in the community to gather feedback for what a project might be that the community kind of identified that they want. So you could facilitate those conversations amongst, that local leadership and kind of who everyone thinks of as a leader in the community, as well as people who might not be seen as leaders in the community. So you were able to kind of have enough awareness to be able to navigate those different communication channels. And that was very important to me, because I didn't want to go there, and the Peace Corps is very adamant about teaching this as well, to not go there and enforce upon the community a project that you think that they will want, but to take a step back and allow the community to tell you what they think that they want, and kind of working within those parameters. Because when you're able to hear what the community wants, those are the type of projects that can continue into perpetuity after you leave, and instead of kind of breaking down after you leave. If if it's something that you said that they should want, they're not going to keep it up after you leave your 2 years. But if it's something that they've identified that they want, they're gonna, and you are just acting as the catalyst to help them get it for the community good,
Right.
then it'll continue on into perpetuity. So that was something that was really important to me. So
Which
the
that's
ability to,
a lot of district grants and Rotary work that way too. It's like they want to see what can we do for the community, which it'd be great to see, an opportunity with connections you make like that in the Peace Corps for future, district grant partnering with a Rotary Club down there.
yes, that's
With your club, with your club. I mean, that's the connections that you make doing those kind of things.
right. So I've going off of that idea, I've been trying to start a program as well that kind of does just that exact thing, where Peace Corps volunteers in another country can write back to their Rotary scholarship, or like for a Rotary grant here in this country, in the US, and then maybe volunteers from the US can go to that Peace Corps country that received that grant and that volunteer, and then help them to see that grant through. That's something that I've been working on. But with the Peace Corps being a governmental organization, there's a lot of bureaucracy, as you can
Right,
imagine, and
right,
as
right.
well as the ability to be able to share information about where that Peace Corps volunteer is, who that Peace Corps volunteer, where they are serving, who they are, et cetera. It gets kind of
Yeah.
nuanced.
Dicey.
Yeah.
Lance, I
that's
think
awesome.
you had a question. Lance?
Yes.
Yes, I'm interested on, you decided to go with the Peace Corps and you went through the application process and you were accepted. What is the spin up time? What did you have to do, to be ready to, go to this island that you went to? And did you have any say? I mean, did they give you like 3 choices, or how does that
Yeah.
work?
So I think at the time that I applied, they gave volunteers 3 choices, and I can't remember if that was the first year that was initiated, and now that is how it is operated, or if that was the last year. I can't quite remember. I think it may have been the first year that it was initiated that you got 3 choices, and so my 3 choices were Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and then Vanuatu, and I just kind of threw Vanuatu in there as thinking that it was kind of the one that was the least likely, because I had never heard of it. And I knew Costa Rica and Nicaragua, and I figured, for those countries, you needed to be able to speak fluent Spanish before you went. And I figured my Portuguese would kind of allow me to be able to go to those countries and kind of bypass that criteria. But it did not. But so I was very lucky to be able to go to Vanuatu. But after being accepted into the Peace Corps, there are many things that you have to do to kind of become volunteer ready. And so we did a host of physicals. We did a host of that was dental work, that was making sure that our bodies were okay, that we didn't have any allergies, or that allergies that were very specific to the country, so that if we were in that area, it might cause an unusual flare up. And I believe that was pretty much it. They encourage you to get your finances together. So like if you had like deferring payments for like school loans and stuff like that, if you had any of those. But other than that, that was pretty much all that they kind of required or suggested for you to do. And then up until going to the Peace Corps, I kind of did as much research as I could into the area and kind of figuring out like what I might need or want during my service, and looking at online blogs to figure out what some current volunteers or return volunteers, what their experience was like. And then once you I guess kind of fly to your host country on the day of your service begins, you actually spend 3 months with your other American volunteers in one training village, learning the language and the culture there, so that you can integrate into your community as quickly as possible. Sorry, and you also learn about your specific area of focus for your volunteer service. So mine was education, but we also had health volunteers in the area. There are also education health, education, youth services. So kind of helping out with any kind of youth programs and helping the youth be better, I guess, local citizens. And there's agricultural as well, and then economic development. So I actually initially applied to be in the economic development, but that specific role requires that you have years of experience, which I did not have at the time. So that's also kind of a funny story. But yeah, so we spent 3 months learning the language, the culture, and our specific job area before going to our village and living in our village for 2 years. So altogether, it was a 27-month program, but that was a great time to make connections with other Peace Corps volunteers in the area as well. And those were some of the people that you kind of leaned on and relied on and kind of had the same experience with, and that you really just a means of connecting and making family for a lifetime. So
Go ahead, Candace.
I'd like to pursue a little bit more your founding of the Rotaract Club, and for a couple different reasons. One, I think, you know, the more Rotarians and Rotaract and all the Rotary affiliated folks can collaborate, the stronger we are. And particularly being an E-Club, we have an unusual amount of flexibility in that regard. And but I'm curious the process that you started and maybe what your 3 to 5 year vision is for that group.
Yes. So the process that we started, myself and another colleague of mine, who she was also greatly impacted by Rotary, but not necessarily as a she did not do the Rotary Youth Exchange. She actually received a scholarship to go to college in another country via Rotary. So she was also felt greatly, very grateful for the Rotary family as well. And so she helped me to start the Rotaract Club. And we actually started meeting at every Thursday at 6 o'clock. We met at a local board game cafe. And so this place has, it's called Well Played, and they have over 500 games. And so we would host our meetings while also playing games and having little finger food snacks and an occasional beer or two. So it was a great time. And so we're looking at doing something like that again, and as well as doing our community service on the weekends as well. So we were meeting about twice a month, once every other week. So it was a great program. And I think those were some of the things that we really did that kind of made people continue to come back. The places that we were meeting, how friendly and open we were, and looking forward to revamping the club. So.
And as just a quick follow on, you said you were doing your service projects on the weekends. And as an E-Club there again, we're always looking for opportunities to say have boots on the ground. So what kind of projects were you doing when you were working on that?
Yeah, so we built a sensory park at the Western North Carolina Nature Center. And so we put in the man hours and got our hands really dirty to build that park for the kids there. We renovated a local, orphanages that had some barns so that they could use those barns for equine therapy. And so those barns were really dirty. So we moved everything out. We cleaned the walls, swept, painted the walls so that it looked nice inside. And they were able to bring some horses to that orphanage in order for the children to have equine therapy. We've also partnered with some other Rotary clubs as well in the area, and we helped maintain some local community gardens. One of the projects that a lot of our members really loved was our Waterfall Keepers project. So we partnered with this organization. They're called Waterfall Keepers of Western North Carolina. And so we volunteered with them and did a hiking trail and kind of picked up trash along the trail as well. So it was a great chance for everyone to get outside, but also be giving back to the community.
Thank you.
Keevon, I know you're not able to read the chat as well while you're talking, but everybody is very impressed with you. And I actually had a private question again from somebody who's under the weather, but I'm going to try to combine this. First of all, we think you need to apply to work for Rotary International in Evanston, Illinois. That's our goal.
I would love that. I would love that.
That's our goal for you. I don't know what your goal is, but that's our goal for you. But along those lines, we're wondering if you're familiar with Rotary's Master's Program in the Peace Building. I know that, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the criteria is that you're not a Rotarian, which is kind of strange, but I think that's one of the criteria. And then, like, what are your where do you see yourself? Because you're very intriguing. Most of us have finished our careers and we're kind of out. And so it's so exciting to see somebody so youthful and full of good stuff like you are. So where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as you were speaking, you also kind of gave me another lead. I didn't know that you could apply to work for Rotary International. So I will definitely be following up on that lead and kind of.
Well, as a matter of
looking into-
fact, one of our favorite foundation speakers at the Rotary Foundation, and I'll bet he'd be very happy to come down and talk to you or do it. Lance, help me out. Carl, I can't, his last name's leaving my head.
Carl Davis?
Thank you. Carl
Yeah.
Davis. He works directly for Rotary International, but lives up in the Raleigh area, which is not too far
Okay.
north from you. And he usually speaks to us during November, which is the Rotary Foundation time. And I'm thinking off the top of my head now, I want to watch my time because we want to hear from you. But it might be fun for y'all to join us in November, and we could focus his talk on how do you get engaged with Rotary Foundation when you're young in a way that you can afford to do, but with the mindset of doing more as you get older.
Right.
Because a lot of us kind of had to figure that out on our own. And so, but he's a great guy. And he, like I said, he works for Rotary, but doesn't work in Evanston. And so,
Okay.
yeah, but we're just kind of curious because we just think you are just, we look at you as our future.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I am certainly exploring options. Really love being in economic development right now. And I think that also kind of works to promote peace. I think when everybody feels like they have an opportunity at, I'll just say, the American dream, I think that really promotes peace and equal opportunity to achieve that dream or just reach financial freedom and feel empowered and in a community that supports them really realizing their self. So yes, so I feel like that is a very important goal of mine to continue to foster in the community. And I feel like that works hand in hand with Rotary's goals as well. And I will definitely be looking into those roles at Evanston at Rotary International. I thought people were just kind of chosen for those roles, but yes, would love to look more into those roles. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have been Rotarians, and we've got actually this club. I think we have 3 past district governors as members. 2 are on the line. 2 are on the line tonight, and so oftentimes I start talking, and one of them graciously corrects me, and so. But I think the folks in Evanston are pretty much just normal folks like us. They've got a heart for Rotary and they have the talents to share and they apply and that's what happens. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Kenneth, I just wanted to add, Keevon, if you're thinking about going to Australia to the convention, if you've never been to an international convention for Rotary, it's an amazing place to make connections. And they are just an incredible gathering of Rotarians from around the world. But you also could probably, looking ahead and putting feelers out to people from where you've done some of your exchange and your Peace Corps, put out some feelers to say who's going and meet up with some people that you might have met previously too. But
yeah, that's a great idea.
But it really, the international conventions are just an amazing gathering of Rotarians that if it's on your list of being able to do, I sure would encourage you to go.
Yeah, Julia, I think he said did you say you went to the one in Houston this last year?
I went to the one in Houston and immediately signed up to go to this one.
Good. Yeah, I went to the one
great.
in Sydney, and I would say that, that it is just, it's amazing, the connections you can make. So yeah, and I know because Houston was a little bit with COVID, it was a little bit less than what they normally are. So hopefully you'll get a little more experience of the gathering from people all over. So good. I'm excited for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Keevon, I think you can tell that we're just really excited for you. We're excited for what you're doing. We would love to stay connected with you in any way that you see appropriate. And we just really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
A lot of folks on this screen have I'm not an old, I am old, but I'm not an old Rotarian. I've only been in Rotary about 10 years or so, but there's a lot of Rotary experience around here. And I think when somebody young comes on who A couple of things you said, they could be future quotes for Rotary. The connection between peace and economic development. I don't know that anybody has stated that as well as you just stated it a few moments ago. And so we really appreciate the time that you had with us tonight. I want to share my screen just really quickly as we close this out. One of our pet projects, our signature projects, is to work with little free libraries. And so we try to put a book in the library for each of our speakers. So this one will be donated in your honor and for your work to build peace and a better world. And we certainly heard a lot about that tonight, and we feel so good about it. Sonia Sotomayor is the author for this. Of course, she's a Supreme Court justice. And this really talks about this little girl who every night her grandmother asked, "What did you do to build a better world today?" And so if each of us ask ourselves that at night, it probably would be a better world. So this encourages children to think about what they do and encourages all of us to think about what we do. And so this will go in one of our little free libraries in your honor and to say thank you tonight for your being here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you all for having me and continue to be great Rotarians and make the world a better place for everyone every day. So thank you all as well.
Thank you. We are just very inspired by you, and we would be very honored if you would join us in closing out our meeting as we join together. If you're on mute, please unmute yourselves, and we can all join together in the four-way test. So the four-way test are the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So thank you all for being here. Keevon, thank you.
Thank you all.
Just wish you all the very, very best. Thank you all. See you next week.
Thank you.